Darkness falls on these waves as suddenly as if it had been poured out of a bottle. Without color or distance to guide the eye, the world shrinks to a dull ache and the monotonous rhythm of a giant fish's fins. This is the opening of Chapter 13 in Paralandra. Elwyn Ransom is stranded on the back of this creature, lashing himself to its body to avoid sliding off into the lightless ocean of Venus. He is surrounded by life, but it offers no comfort. Glowing, greenish water people swim alongside him, their eyes larger than a man's. They ignore him completely. To them, Ransom is as irrelevant as a branch of a different tree meeting in the wind. In this isolation, Ransom encounters the empirical bogey, the nightmare perspective of simple arithmetic, where galaxies make the individual mind a byproduct of disorder. Without human projection, the math of the cosmos is hollow as a banker's ledger. Exhausted and overborne by this sense of cosmic loneliness, Ransom reaches a breaking point. His mind is oddly changed, fading like a dream, leaving him empty and ready for the first voice he hears in the dark. That voice belongs to the Unman, a demonic entity inhabiting the body of the physicist Weston. It approaches Ransom not with a threat, but with a whimper. The creature appears broken. It sits hugging itself, its flesh the color of liver, and its mouth twisted with pain. It weeps, begging Ransom for the sake of God to speak to it, and not cold shoulder a dying man. It invokes the horrors of the war back on Earth, crying that the Germans may be bombing London to bits at this very moment. It pleads for Ransom to buck up and show mercy to a fellow countryman. Ransom has spent days avoiding this entity's psychological games, but the sight of tears and the mention of home break his resolve. He answers the creature, entering a conversation he had intended to shun. The entity has found a way in. By performing the role of a victim, it uses Ransom's decency to bypass his intellectual caution. As soon as Ransom engages, the weeping stops. The Unman pivots to a chillingly articulate lecture on the nature of reality, claiming to know a truth that science and religion try to hide. It describes the universe with a thin crust, the Rind. This rind is our world of light and life, only 70 years thick. We are born on this surface, sinking through it until we enter the dark inside, the real globe, where God does not follow. The creature uses the language of modern physics to ground this horror. It points to bent space and the indeterminacy of the atom to argue that reality is neither rational nor consistent. All the colors and pleasant shapes we love are merely where the world ends. Inside that world, the creature promises only darkness, pressure, and suffocation. To Ransom, shivering on a dark fish in a lightless ocean, this vision of a hollow, rotting universe feels physically present. The Unman's goal is to strip away the idea of life or meaning. It wants Ransom to believe that his experiences of joy were temporary illusions, masking an inevitable, eternal decay. The philosophical debate is cut short by a physical reality. The sound of waves crashing against rocks echoes through the dark. The Unman screams, "Breakers, you fool! We shall be smashed into a jelly." The sophisticated nihilism vanishes instantly. The entity that claimed death was the only reality is now paralyzed by animal terror, clutching Ransom's arm with both hands in a frantic attempt to survive. But all argument is abandoned for violence. The Unman plucks Ransom from his seat, wrapping him in a terrible embrace, and dragging him down beneath the surface into the deep. This shift from cold philosophy to desperate violence reveals the nature of the Rind argument. It was not a search for truth, but a means of destruction. Lewis warns that narratives of cosmic insignificance, the empirical bogey, are often targeted psychological pressures. They are designed to make the victim surrender to the weight of the dark. When you encounter a worldview that claims life is just a thin skin over a dead universe, ask what that narrative is trying to achieve. Often, it is not trying to explain the world, but to pull you under.